big shout out to our education community for all of their hard work this past school year. Orleans Parish improved students' learning mastery plus by 2 percentage points since last school year. Also, New Orleans Public Schools grew 3 percentage points in the areas of English language arts and math in all grade levels. Let's continue to make more academic gains this school year.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Wake up, Doc. Doc,
what you say, OT?
OT, the early bird, Nyron on the box. First of all, our hearts and prayers go out to, especially the young man from the tragic accident. And I want to give a special ups to my one of my nephew, Billy. I'm not going to say Billy's last name right now for being on the scene and trying to help, but let's pray for this 15-year-old kid.
Sophomore student at Edna Carr.
At Edna Carr.
Yes.
And talked to Billy again this morning, man, early this morning. And everybody's in prayer. Unfortunate, man. I don't want to make any allegations now, but it was something that should not have happened. So let's put our hearts and our hands and our prayers together for him and his family.
Yes.
Also, man, Doc, how you doing? You had a good weekend?
Listen, I'm great. I told you I was going to the spa. Went to the spa.
Good.
It was amazing.
Good.
So, yes, I'm good. I'm ready.
Good. That's good. Another happy birthday to Kendall Francis, man.
Happy birthday, Kendall.
Kendall for Blessed 26. I've been rolling with Kendall, man, a long time, man. And Kendall, thank you for the comments, man, and thank you for inviting me to your piece, man. You've been a blessing. Yeah. I've been working with since he started Blessed 26. We would go over to KG's or some of the places to buy suits for kids for proms or graduation.
Yeah.
And it been doing it for years. And then we would have the after-school program at high school. So just talking to the young men and young brothers, and Kendall's been doing that a while.
There's so many unsung heroes in New Orleans, and we don't talk about those people enough.
Yeah.
And Kendall is one of those, like, those types of initiatives don't get the spotlight that they deserve.
They really don't.
Yeah.
And they don't ask for any money.
No.
But that's a whole nother conversation. It's like the people who should get funding don't.
Yes.
And the ones who've been trying to work with the kids for centuries get all the money.
Because we the most nonprofiting
there's no doubt about
city
that.
In this country.
There's
so many nonprofits, but there are real people doing real work on the ground, and we salute those people.
Guys, for our listening audience, walk with us here. Our call number is 504-582-9422. Hopefully, Nyron will get one of the WBOK owners to call in. But it's like, man, how many different fronts do we have to fight on?
Let's talk about it.
And if you haven't heard, if you go to Black Source Media, I think 504, and read the article by Jeff Thomas. I don't know if it's going to wind up being a defamation lawsuit, but it's definitely character assassination and defamation of character of what this station represents. And for our listening audience, thank you guys for supporting. This is why this station is important. There was an attorney who went on another radio station. I think I can say it. It's public now.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. WWL, and talked about this radio station being a station for criminals, or that supports criminal activity.
Yeah.
And I think the jealousy was around the fact that retired police officer Vappy went on Gerard's show.
Yes.
To proclaim his innocence. Said that he was not worried. I mean, other people tried to get him
Yes.
to talk, and we've had that before.
And
but
if
not
they
to
would have
this level.
secured him, if they would
They
have
would've
secured
secured him.
him, yes,
Right,
it wouldn't
would
have
been
been
okay.
Absolutely.
Right? And we've dealt with it before, but not that blatant before, where people who choose to come here,
Yes.
right, because
Mhm.
they know, first of all, know that they're not. It's not going to be ambush journalism.
Right.
We may ask tough questions, but we're not trying to disrespect you or embarrass you.
Right.
And so if people feel safer,
The mark
Uh,
of good journalism.
could come in here.
Yes.
And the WFL, this attorney and their host, especially the attorney, made these comments. We're going to try to play them. I don't know if Naren, if you pulled them up yet. We're going to try to get them at some point to play. But
Oliver, it felt much like a dog whistle, right?
Yeah.
The words came out of his mouth, but we all know what the intentions behind those words were.
Right.
And it was malicious, it was slanderous, and to ever say that WBOK or insinuate that WBOK aligns itself with criminality it cuts to the heart of not just WBOK. I think you're speaking about Black America
right.
as a whole, because this is Black media. This is a station that gives voice to Black
Right.
perspectives.
Right.
So are you saying that the people who not only own the station, but those who listen to the station and support the station, support criminality?
So think about it, right? That same person wouldn't say anything about Fox aligning itself with Oliver North or Donald Trump.
Right. With the 34 felony
With
convictions.
34 and Oliver North with Iran
Yeah.
Contra, right?
Yes. Mhm.
You know, the swapping drugs for money for arms.
Yeah. But the lawyer put me in the mind of Trump, and what we've been saying in previous shows is that when you start to talk from a basis of white supremacy and racism, you can't help yourself.
Right.
Things just start to come out of your
Right.
mouth. I was shocked when I heard, because as an attorney, the presumption is innocence.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, you
innocent
took an
until
oath to
proven.
that. Right.
Absolutely. And so I understand that you have a job to do to represent your client.
Right.
But what he said was outside of the bounds of even the case
It
he's
had nothing to do
representing.
with-
Had
with-
nothing to do with
case.
it.
It was all about
And
journalism,
so
right.
it was just a unprovoked attack. There was no provocation for the things that he said, and the station should atone for it. There should be some atonement for the slanderous nature in which he spoke.
504-582-9422. And those who are without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah,
You may disagree with a person about an issue, and you can
Yes.
disagree vehemently, right? You say tomato, they say tomato.
yes,
They're for charter, we're for community-run schools.
Yes.
That's okay.
Mhm.
We'll have that debate,
yes,
right? But the character assassination,
yeah.
you know, to that level.
But also, you're not jurist. You're not a judge. This wasn't a court of law. This was a radio station giving him an opportunity to put his side on the
but
record.
it has to do with what you said, that superiority complex
Yes,
that says I can do that.
yes.
If I don't
Yes.
disagree with what they do, they're beneath me.
And then the idea that it was said and nobody from the station corrected it
Checked it.
or
Oh,
came. So that tells
absolutely.
me personally, that
Absolutely.
makes me feel as though they also support the content in the context of what he was saying.
We've had people fired here before for ambush journalism
Hmm.
or for making comments without reason, without sound basis for it.
But you've also corrected people on the air. I was
On
on
the
one of
air.
the owners recently, and I was talking about the race, just as
Right.
me as a person.
Right.
And he jumped in and he said, "No, we can't support one
Right,
one
or the
candidate."
other.
So there's always a
Right.
way to correct the record if you do not align with those thoughts, and nobody has corrected the record, and it's been days.
But you know what's crazy is that you'll remember one of the hosts of WWL, and they had one of the elected officials on, and he allowed him to call me a thug
Hmm.
and a criminal.
Yeah.
And the station didn't do a release.
Yeah.
They didn't correct it at
Mhm.
all. They didn't do anything like the ownership or management does here, or
Yeah.
like we would do. We catch ourselves.
Absolutely,
We
yeah.
catch ourselves. So it seems to be a pattern, especially aimed at what we do here.
Hmm.
And but all that tells me is that how important
Black media
the
is.
Tribune is, how important
Yes.
data is, how important WBOK is,
Yes.
how important we are,
Hmm.
and still threatening. You got 20 times our listening audience,
Hmm.
and there's still not enough, you're still threatened by it.
But the attorney needs to pull his pants up because his insecurities are showing, and so that's what I think it is. It's just insecurity. Y'all are doing a lot more with a lot less because
Right.
they're heavily funded over there, and
Oh,
they're
man,
not
that-
securing
that's a
the
multi-million
so
dollar
absolutely, and they're
enterprise.
not securing the sort of interviews and people on their station, and that's probably what it is. So to say that somehow, or to insinuate somehow that WBOK aligns itself with criminality, or there's a sense of entitlement. uh, Just think of that for 1 second. Black media is entitled to what? You work for everything you have over here. There are no handouts here.
Yeah, but-
Entitled to what?
And before we get a chance to pull up the soundbite, I'm going to read Jeff Thomas, who's one of the owners. He's the owner of Black Source Media, and Think 504 is one of the contributors. It says, defamation disguised as critique. This is a response to a racist slander against WBOK. The recent slanderous comments against WBOK Radio and its owners, staff, and its audience is nothing short of reprehensible. WBOK's talk radio elevates black voices and perspectives. However, the station faced a vicious attack filled with baseless, racially charged stereotypes. These remarks reveal the speaker's ignorance and bigotry more than anything else. In a shocking display of arrogance, lawyer Justin Smith defamed WBOK's 1230 AM on Newell Norman's show on WWR Radio. WBOK has long been a beacon for the black community in New Orleans, and Smith's words, dripping with condensation, were false and deeply offensive. His comments aimed to undermine the station's credibility and integrity. Norman supported Smith, reflecting a deep-seated resentment towards black excellence and a blatant disregard for the true. Racist tropes and ignorant stereotypes. Let's be clear. Smith didn't just criticize, he resorted to the most dangerous racist talking points. Smith claimed that WBOK 1230 AM and its owners don't have an issue with criminal activity and suggests that the station promotes a sense of criminal entitlement. He parroted tired and harmful stereotypes used for generations to demonize and discredit black individuals and organizations. I'll stop there. And you and I have talked about this. Byron Allen, the owner of Comcast, when he talked about his fight in his journey.
Yes.
He's the first billionaire in the media,
Yes.
right, industry. And it was the 4 Ds: dismiss, discredit, demonize, and destroy.
Mm-hmm.
He said the first things that happen when you're African American, especially with the media,
Mm-hmm.
is they dismiss you first. She don't know what she's talking about. He don't know what he's talking about. Discredit. Didn't you know that he got in trouble once?
I feel like you're talking to me, Oliver. Go ahead.
Number 3,
Uh-huh.
demonize.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did they get in trouble one time,
Mm-hmm.
but let me tell you what they did with so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they set you up, when they dismiss you, when they
Destruction.
discredit you, when they demonize you, then they use the power of the press and the power of media to destroy you.
Yes. But let me say this. I've never seen a thief be attracted to an empty house, right? Thieves don't break into empty homes. So let's just be very clear
That's
here.
That's another wideism.
So when
I
you-
can't wait till you write your book.
when you think about it, they're coming for you because they see the value in WBOK.
right.
They're not talking about any other mom and pop,
Not
radio
at all.
stations, and because
Not at
those
all.
mom and pop things are not securing the VAPI interview.
That's right.
An interview that everybody wanted.
They-
Everybody wanted it, and
Everybody.
Gerard got it.
Everybody.
And Gerard represents WBOK.
Everybody.
So if you're mad, stay mad, right?
Mr. Thomas in Black Social Media goes on to say, the accusation that WBOK, a station dedicated to giving a voice to the voiceless, condones criminal activity is absurd and offensive. This attack isn't just on the station. It's an attack on the entire community WBOK represents. It's a deliberate attempt to undermine the black voices and perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
painting the entire community with a broad brush of criminality and dismissing its struggles and achievements as entitlement. The owners of WBOK are not just businessmen. We are pillars in this community. Wendell Pierce, Troy Henry, Cleveland Spears, and Jeff Thomas work tirelessly to uplift others. We have created Black spaces where Black voices can be heard and respected. Wow, our team has faced challenges and overcome them with grace and determination before. We bring a high-profile guest to the station and offer critical discussions on issues affecting the Black community. Then it goes on to say jealousy, resentment, and a no to diversity. WBOK success breeds jealousy. The station has secured high-profile guests and has become a respected community voice, something other stations struggle to achieve. This success isn't due to some mythical entitlement, as Smith suggests, but rather hard work, intelligence, vision of its owners and its staff. Wow.
But let's not gloss over that no diversity piece. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're talking about this entitlement and this alignment with criminality, but there are a number of people who represent this station who don't look like you and I, who have made guest appearances on this station. I mean, we just had the man behind the man, did we not?
Yes.
He works directly for the governor.
Yes.
I'm sure you would have wanted that interview as well.
We had Miss Moore, man,
yes,
from Ashna.
Yes,
man, white social scientist who's leading.
Yes. So
you know what? I didn't even think about that, Dr. White. We view as many folk from other communities.
Different perspectives.
As a matter of fact, there's more diversity in
Here.
our guests
Absolutely.
and in the information we give out than anybody.
And we give people an opportunity to have their say.
We had a segment on hillbilly elegy with J.D. Vance.
Yes.
A couple years ago.
Yes.
About his book.
Yes.
He was on.
Uh-huh. So
We've
here's
had
the thing.
Jeff Landry on.
We've had those guests, and so that's the when you
I didn't think about that. I'm glad you brought that
when you
up.
take a shot at the king, you best not miss. That's what has to happen here. Like this is WBOK is a king in Black media, and we're not going to allow anybody to come for the throne and it go unaddressed. We're just not going to do that.
But you know what, man? That's a powerful piece you just opened up, right? We are so diverse and so open-minded and objective, right? We will allow the most conservative, sometimes borderline racist voices
to come on
and speak their piece.
Absolutely. Uncensored, because there's a kind of candor here. There's an objectivity here. There's nobody, you're going to have your say. People call in and don't agree with the host of WBOK.
Right.
But we're not getting in a shouting match. You're entitled to your opinion.
No,
we respect it here. And I think that's why so if you're mad, stay mad.
But you are absolutely correct. We have had some of the most right-wing, crazy voice that we disagree with, but wanted to come on. We thought, if nothing else, let people decide.
That's it.
I can guarantee you that other stations not going to have a Willie Muhammad on their show.
A Dr. Wyatt. They won't let us host.
On their show.
Yes.
And have not invited Oliver Thomas in years.
Right. And but if it says anything about this alignment with criminality, what it says at WBOK is you believe in the power of redemption. That's what you believe. People can mess up and they can still create positive changes in their community. That happens all the time.
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, 504-582-9422. Nyron, see if you can get one of the owners on. I think that would be great to hear from them. WBOK 1230 AM. Whose station?
Our station.
It's our station, guys.
Hey, this is D. Riley from the 90s Hits R&B Jams. Make sure you listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday night from 7 until 9 p.m. I'll be giving you the best R&B jams from the 90s. That's right, all your favorites and more. With me, D. Riley, your host of the 90s Hits, right here on WBOK 1230 AM, or listen online at WBOK1230.com. WBOK, the station you listen to longer.
Welcome back to school, families and scholars. NOLA Public Schools is excited to kick off another exciting year of learning, growth, and success. Our dedicated teachers have been preparing all summer to provide an engaging and enriching experience for every student. Let's embrace new challenges, celebrate achievements, and make this school year the best one yet. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS by visiting our social media channels. Here's to a year filled with curiosity, creativity, and community. Attend today, achieve tomorrow. Join us Thursday morning, May 23rd at 8:20 a.m. United Healthcare goes live on the Good Morning Show. Tune in to hear United Health's Dr. Morrell talk about Mental Health Awareness Month and important health tips. That's Thursday morning, May 23rd at 8:20 a.m. on the Good Morning Show. Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Every Friday at noon on WBOK.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show
Good morning.
on WBOK 1230 AM.
We are back 23 minutes past the bottom of the hour. Man, what how unfortunate. We were dealing with Black Social Media and Think 504's response. And one of the owners of WBOK, defamation disguised as critique, and a response to a racist slander against WBOK. That's in Think 504. One of the lines, I think one of the WBOK owners, actor, activist, and everything else he is, man, to our community. Wendell Pierce, welcome back to the Good Morning Show.
Yeah,
Hello?
I think you got the wrong.
Oh, this
I'll
is
go
Norm.
out and look.
Oh, this is Dr.
Yeah.
Norm. Hey, Dr.
Yeah.
Norm.
Yeah, I didn't mean to spread. I'm not Wendell Pierce perfectly.
No,
I think
but
I'm
you
as
Dr.
good as-
Norm, and your voice is strong. Thank you
Yes,
for calling,
yes, my
Doc.
voice is strong and all that good stuff. And I think that when we talk about folks coming in, actually when a person calls in, particularly on a black formatted a radio show or that, actually what they want to do, and the reason they monitor you is to say that you don't belong here or to shut you up. There's something that anytime we open up our mouths and discuss something, anything, then we simply are been told, as we've been told years from our ancestors, you don't know your place. And in this society, unfortunately, it continues to exemplify that hostility against black intellect, and our black folk, period. And particularly when you have a degree of education, and we see this hostility that takes place, for example, in like I'm a pharmacist and I'm a dentist, and I never had any problems, and so did my colleagues. Every problem with law enforcement until I became a dentist. All of a sudden, I'm uppity, I'm arrogant, and I think and those sort of. And you will see in New Orleans, same thing. I look at Dr. Jamil Oscar. She was murdered years a neurosurgeon back in 2005 because someone said she didn't look like a doctor. You have Dr. Michael Jones. That whole group were attacked and stuff. So when people call in to a black radio show and want to shout the N-word and all that other good stuff. I'm not trying to. I almost slipped into some ebonics here.
Yeah.
But anyway,
That's okay.
It's
it
welcome.
is to tell us and to remind us that you need to shut up and be quiet and know your place. And that ain't happening. It never has happened. We've always been out. We stand up. If you don't stand up, then people just walk all over you. Read my blog, youareWithinTheNorms.com. But anyways,
thank you, Dr. Norm, as always, man. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
We really do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Dr. Norm, a veteran, educated doctor. He's par for the course.
Right.
And as Mr. Thomas said, Think 504. It's not new. It's not the first time. But to have an attorney, right, someone who should understand slander,
Right.
defamation,
Right. And even when you
character.
listen to the soundbite, he made this other statement about he went on that friendly station. He went you went where it was friendly is what he said. And you just have to understand the message behind the words you're hearing. Because again, if they had secured that interview, I don't know that the characterization of it would have been the same, right? You wanted the interview. It's just that WBOK secured the interview, and that's where the animus comes from. So let's just be clear. This has less to do about WBOK aligning itself with criminality as much so as it does you just didn't get the interview. And you're a bit salty about that.
Right. I want to go to the bottom, guys. Get a copy of Think 504 and read this. A call for accountability. The slanderous statements made by Schmidt and supported by Norman must not go unanswered. These men have crossed the line, and they must be held accountable. It's not enough to just dismiss their comments as ignorant or misguided. They are dangerous. We must call them out for what they are, and these racist lies that are meant to discredit and demean WBOK 1230 and its owners and staff and audience deserve better. The team deserves recognition for the work it has done and continues to do for our community. Our team deserves respect for all the achievements and commitment to providing a platform for Black voices. And like you said, it's not just Black voices.
Yeah, no.
It's
It's diverse voices.
Yeah, we've had
Yes.
from J.D. Vance to
Yes.
Jeff Landry, people who represented Responti when he was the most Republican conservative voices. We've said, hey, yeah, if you got something to say, let our audience
Absolutely
determine how they feel about it.
And at the heart of the matter, Oliver, it's also this idea that WBOK created its own table. It didn't have to sit at WWL's table. And that's the issue too, right? We created our own table. We pulled up our own chairs. That's a problem.
504-582-9422, line 1. Brother Aaron, you're on with Dr. Wyatt and OT.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good morning, great brother.
Yeah, you're right. First, shouts out to the Fatherhood Roundtable as well as the People's Political Party. In my Gerard Stevens voice, I find it quite interesting that this same outrage, you remember for the judge election, right?
Yeah.
And there was a certain judge that went on Newell Norman show. And of course, we all know that Newell Norman is not the sheriff no more. But he's a radio host. And I thought it was illegal for a radio host or a radio personality, right, to take and fully endorse a running candidate.
Well,
how was it that this same...
Well, that's what they reported me to. I had my colleagues report me to the Ethics Commission.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Over that, and I had to
for
give
your
up a whole
volunteer
lot.
position.
Yeah.
Why we didn't have the same effort in so-called fake outrage for when he did that? And he did a full commercial and everything. But it just goes to show you, like Doctor said a little while ago, when we have the audacity to threaten the foolishness what they doing over there, this what they come back with. But all I'm gonna say is to the owners, as well as the community and WBOK as well, money. yeah.
All right, great one. God bless you, Papa.
Yeah, you're right, John.
Thank you. Actor Wendell Pierce said on X, he said New Orleans. He said, this morning on WWL, AM and FM, Justin Schmidt accused Equity Media and WBOK 1230 of criminality and complicity in criminal acts. This is an abhorrent accusation that is slanderous. It is an act of defamation and a personal attack on my character and the radio station. That's on X, Wendell Pierce. Line number 2. Good morning, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Jeff Thomas, man. Good morning. God bless, man.
Good morning, OT. Good morning, Dr. Wyatt. Thank you guys for talking about this morning. I don't have a lot of time, but I do want to say this.
Yeah.
This to me smacks of a modern day lynching. To quote an attempt to modern day lynch us. It is an attempt to cut us off at the knees. It's an attempt to silence Black perspectives and Black voices. It's part of this 2025 playbook. I love what you produced, Councilman, I should say that, OT, about your Project 2025 NOLA. But I'll say this, that we won't be silenced. We won't go away. We're going to be here. We are a part of this community. We are entrenched in what we do. We believe in the mission, which is black excellence and black excellence in radio in this community. We give voice to all kinds of voices, like you guys said, from the extremely liberal to the extremely conservative and everybody in between.
Look, I know you got to run, but I want you to stop right there, right? It's crazy because Dr. White and I, when we look at the lineup of voices, people that we talk to, it's the most diverse lineup we give access in the media.
Yes.
Right here on the black station.
Yes. And we gave
Exactly
Shane an entire segment. He was with us.
I mean, from hillbilly elegy to Republican officials.
Yes.
So it's almost like they don't pay attention to us until they want to disrespect us.
That's right. That's right. Listen, I'm most disappointed in, well, first of all, this attorney, Justin Smith. I never heard of him before until he got this case. And he's certainly trying to make a name for himself. He's certainly trying to come up. He's not going to do it on our backs. He's not going to, disparage our good names in this community. There's nothing criminal about anything that happens at WBOK. We are above reproach. We work hard. Everything we get, we earn in this market. This is a tough market, and we're here, and we're here to stay, and we're doing our thing, and we're going to continue to do our thing. And black excellence frightens people like Justin Smith. And listen, this is what happened in Tulsa. This is an attempt to burn us down. This is an attempt to take away the greatness that we have created because they can't beat us. But we're here, and we're not going anywhere. I want everybody in New Orleans to know that there's more to come about this. This is just the first part of this process. The abhorrent statements that this guy made cannot go unexcused. Cannot go. We're not going to just let this go. We are going to demand an official apology. But I'm also most disappointed in Newell Norman. I mean, he knows better. He is an experienced at this point journalist, and he knows he had an opportunity, instead of egging on this kind of foolishness, instead of egging on this negativity, which only destroys our community, which only divides us, rather than try to be a conduit of goodness, he is putting out more negativity.
Well, Mr.
into
Thomas,
the world
you remember when? Hello.
You lost him?
I'm still here.
I'm still here. You remember when I went got into an argument with another elected official, and they went on the station, and the host, I think it was Scoot, called me a criminal and a thug, and I learned that behavior in prison, and the station didn't issue an apology. The station didn't say, "Hey, look, that's not appropriate." The community went off about it.
Yeah.
But we got nothing from the station and saying, "Hey, man, you don't even know what happened." I didn't even say what the elected officials said I said, and they didn't issue any retraction.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, we are demanding a retraction. This is just the first part of this process.
Right.
We have made it publicly known that this is unacceptable. We've drawn a line in the sand. You're not going to come here and talk foolishness to us. Listen, all of us here at WBOK, you, Dr. White, Nyron, everybody in the building today, all of us are doing great work. All of us are helping elevate our community. All of us are helping inform and empower our community. And that is what I think is disturbing to people like Justin Smith. These racist views that black voices need to be silenced, black people should be seen and not heard. That old trope is dead. Now, Donald Trump wants to continue that, but that's part of the reason we also need to get out and vote. It's part of the reason we need to make sure Kamala Harris gets elected. It's part of the reason we need to do our civic duty. Being black in America also requires work. You can't just be a citizen. You can't just sit down and watch football and drink beer. You've got to be engaged. You got to protect your community. You got to protect us. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to shine a light on this foolishness, and I almost said a FCC finding word.
Right.
But I want to thank you guys for your taking time this morning to bring this up. And thank you guys for continue to educate people. Everybody didn't necessarily know about it, but we knew about it. It was brought to my attention like 10 minutes after it happened. I was actually walking around and I got a call, and I was with a friend of mine, and I was like, "What the heck? What is going on?" And we listened to it together, and we were both shocked. So, I just want to say that it's important to stop this kind of divisive, negative behavior in our community. If New Orleans is going to get better, if New Orleans is going to grow, and we aspire to be like Atlanta and Houston, then we need to do business together.
Yeah, we need to work together. No doubt about it.
And this parochial small pie. Well, if I give up a piece of the pie, it's gonna die, and I'll be hungry, and nobody. That locking people out is not the way to expand economic market, and that's part of the reason we suffer here. It's this negative thinking, and we're going to put an end to it.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for the time.
Thank you, and thank you for being available, man. And respect you, love you, and appreciate your investment in this community. Thank you, Jeff Thomas.
Same here.
Oh wow. Line number one, Troy. Oh no, I think is this Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Oh man, you're on with Dr. Wyatt and OT, man. The Good Morning Show, man. I'm sure you just heard. First of all, man, I know we don't need to apologize to you guys for what you've done in your investment, but you're talking about a major defamation, mischaracterization, aspersions, whatever you want to call it. And I guess we can apologize for the fool who did it. Thank you.
Well, no, this is par for the course. And look, when you got people that are limited in their intellect, this is the type of tactics that they attempt to deploy on an organization that's achieving and in many ways out-achieving them. And this interview is an example of their frustration. But OT and Doc, our script will be different. I'll reach out to this guy today, Schmidt today, and I'll let him know what we expect.
I'm gonna reach out.
Okay, and he'll get 2 days, and if he's listening, I'll let him know you'll get 2 days. If not, then we'll start talking to your clients, and we'll let your clients know that we're not going to support those clients because they're supporting a racist organization. So we don't have to get all excited and emotional about it. So either they're going to do that, and we'll do the same thing for WWL.
Right.
Because they got big clients, and we'll let those clients know that we won't be supporting them. WBOK listeners won't be supporting them, and the black community won't support them any further because they're supporting a racist organization. Now, they have the ability to step up and just say, we're sorry, we made a mistake, and everybody makes a mistake, and we'll let bygones be bygones.
But the apology has to be as loud as the disrespect.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, it'll be loud.
Yes.
It'll be loud, or the tactics that we'll use, we've obviously already talked to our attorney, so the tactics that we've used, we want to give everybody cooler heads a chance to prevail, but the tactics that we use will be very difficult for them. And so we're expecting that level of apology from them, and then we'll move on with our business. But congratulations to the on-air team, Gerard, yourselves, and the rest of the WBOK team of talent, because you're shaking things up and you're making a difference in the community.
Mr. Henry, I want to ask you this question because I posed it to Jeff, and Dr. Wyatt reminded me of it earlier when we were talking. We offer the most diverse voices. I mean, we've had Hillbilly Elegy with J.D. Vance on. We've had Republican governors. We've had conservative thought provokers. We more so than the station that's casting the aspersion, we allow people to come on here and share their views, no matter who they are.
It is, but you got to understand something. They believe that we should be in our place. Mm-hmm. And as long as our place is behind them, underneath them, after them, or what have you, we're okay. We're in our right role. When we step out in front of them, in any time, they can't handle that. They don't know how to accept defeat at the hands of folks that look like us. And essentially that was a frustration reaction to them because it was defeat. They didn't get the interview that they wanted to get. So all of a sudden you lash out at the company that did get the interview.
But let me ask you this, and you guys have done it before, and you guys have parted ways with folk who were inappropriate or made certain comments that compromise the integrity and objectivity here. Dr. Wyatt and I know incidents where we've been corrected on air if we were too political, or partisan, or making comments that didn't work. Yeah. But why have we not yet heard from the station? I mean, the owners. I mean, that is absolutely unbelievable.
Well, they're a big organization. They're part of a bigger conglomerate. They probably don't even know what was said, quite frankly. But they will after today. So they'll know what was said. We'll give them an opportunity to retract and apologize. And then if they don't do that, then we'll give their sponsors and supporters an opportunity to understand and what the community action will be as a result of that. So it's easiest for them to just kind of nip this in the bud today, or the next couple of days. We'll give them 2 days notice.
Right.
But then after that, we'll just move forward. Look, we're not going to change who we are, and we're not going to let them define us, because the people in our community that support this station know what WBOK is all about. But we have many, many, many tools in our tool chest to take on this type of bigotry. And the first one we'll do is a gentleman's approach. And then beyond that, then it gets a little more difficult for them. But we're okay with either way. So they can be stubborn, or they can be, professional and admit a mistake that was made.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. I appreciate you, man. Have a great day and a great week, man.
All right, you got.
Right, lines are lit up. Line number 2, Reverend Calhoun. Good morning, Rev. God bless you. The man at 9-1.
Good morning to all. Good morning to all. I'm just trying to find something out, and maybe you can help me out.
Yeah.
Is this the same Newell Norman that resigned amid criminal accusations?
Yeah, he's a former
one
sheriff.
and the same.
Is this the same Newell Norman that had his association with the Jefferson Parish's sheriffs that were also charged criminally? Al Converidge and the rest of those?
One and the same.
So how is it that he now sits around and figure that he can attack WBOK, and his history doesn't I don't know, maybe he has his association with criminals so much that he just sees criminals everywhere. I don't know.
Come on, Rev.
I'm just trying to figure it out. Because for him to condone whatever this man said, personally, I don't listen at that radio station because I think they're very biased in their thoughts. Because everything I hear come out of WWL is a negative toward New Orleans. Most of those people live in Metairie, across the lake or whatever, but all their comments at one time seem to be negative toward New Orleans. So I don't go along with that. But I'm just trying to find out. He wants to talk about criminality and his association with it. He's not reflecting on that at all.
Wow, thank you, Reverend Calhoun. Now we're going to go to break, man. That's if you're living in a glass house, right? Those who without sin
cast the first
stone. Pop Jones, hold, Pop. We'll be with you after the break. WBOK 1230 AM. Whose station?
Our station.
Our station, and proud of it.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do...
Let's play something, Grandma.
...became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
New Orleans, this is Jamar McNeely, Chief Executive Officer at Spinola Charter Schools. I'm excited to invite you to an incredible event you don't want to miss. The NOLA Love, Inspiration, Advocacy Rally featuring legendary Bishop T.D. Jakes. Join us on September 6th at 10 a.m. at Xavier's Convocation Center as we come together to uplift our community, inspire change, and advocate for the future of our youth. This is your chance to be a part of something truly powerful. RSVP now at inspirenolaschools.org. We'll see you there.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Monday morning, I'm Deja Brown with WDSU News, and here's a look at your traffic. As you're waking up and heading out the door, seeing some very slow-moving traffic from Kenner to downtown. Earlier this morning, we did have an accident involving a broken-down semi that had your right lane blocked just past Power Boulevard. The remnants of that blocking the shoulder and your normal delays, causing about a 26-minute ride from Kenner to the downtown area. Also dealing with a crash on our surface streets. Look out for an issue at the intersection of St. Charles Avenue and 1st Street. Slide out to the downtown area is a 36-minute ride with delays from Crowder on your approach to the upslope of the high-rise and secondary delays from Orleans to the Flyover. Lafayette to the I-10 merge is clocking in at 16 minutes. That's like your traffic on WBOK, 1230 a.m.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 a.m.
We are back. Man, what Rodney K say? Can't we all just get along?
Not when you disrespected me. We can't.
Mr. Think 504 Jeff Thomas laid it out. He said we should be trying to bring this community together.
Mm-hmm.
One of the owners of WBOK, Troy Henry, was a little more to the point. He said, first thing I'm going to do is call you.
I'm going to reach out.
I'm going to reach out man to man,
Mm-hmm.
businessman to businessman.
Mm-hmm.
He said, then I'm going to give you 2 days.
Yeah, 48 hours.
Right. and then we're going to talk to your lawyers and your sponsors.
Yeah, because we do business over here.
We
at this little black job.
Well, we're not supposed to.
It's one of them little black jobs.
Doc, that's another wideism. Line number 3. Pop Jones, the mayor of Algiers. Pop,
good morning, Dr. Wise and OT.
Yeah.
400 years of slavery. Do we want to go back? We could have solved a lot of our problems yesterday. Do not have to walk with the signs. Hold back the green. Now, how do you hold back the green? You don't have to walk with signs and boycott. You have to strategize. You have to know how to do that. How to cut it, when to hold it, when to fold it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And if you married and a wife and a husband is working and he used to bringing home a certain amount of money, and then he cut it in half, and then the next payday he'd have cut it in a third. Hey, wait a minute, something going on here. So when you start cutting the green back, you're gonna see a change in the actions.
Right.
So when are we gonna learn? We keep supporting the enemy. Now I realize that we don't really own a lot of different things. We have to support. So I know we're going to have to live together like people or die together like fools. But there's a way that you can do things that will make them, they're not going to treat you better just on their own. They're not going to do that. They just like Donald Trump, they're trying to bring you back to slavery or to Jim Crow. So what are you going to do about it?
Wow. So Papa, are you surprised that, they were so blatant? And are you surprised that the station hasn't issued an apology or a retraction?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all, because they know us. You see, we don't say nothing. We let them get by with murder. You don't have to start a war. There's so many ways that you can use your voice. The great John Lewis, the late John Lewis, say, if you see something, say something.
Thank you,
man. So you don't say nothing. It's just like if they attack you, nobody say nothing. So they're going to do it again. Because they're afraid of you anyway. See, they want their candidate.
Yes, sir.
And they figure you a threat to them. So they're going to try to come up with anything they can against you.
Don't I know?
You already know that.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you, Pop, man. God bless you, man, and thank you. All right, it's going to be interesting to see what the next 2 days are like.
Yeah, well, I'm excited that the owners took the initiative to respond because, as Laura Neal Hurston said, if you are silent about your pain, they will kill you and say you enjoyed it.
Right.
So the fact that you think you could just come out the side of your mouth about an organization and its listeners without repercussions speaks to the goal of white supremacy, right?
It's funny, and it seems to never stop, right? I'm also looking at the article about Michoud and how NASA issued this report blaming Michoud and then blaming the fact that it's the New Orleans area. Well, anyone who knows that most of the jobs of the people who work there, they don't come from New Orleans. They live in the surrounding area.
Right.
We would love it if that many of these regional facilities that we had more people from the city working at them. So it is always so easy, right? And it seems like every time you have an African-American community, a neighborhood, an African-American city, it's easy to blame that geography or that location rather than, hey, hold on a second, right? Aren't you supposed to be the watchdog?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden something goes wrong with a product, then you want to blame the people.
Right. But also, too, I think about this idea. Oliver, you've heard the idea of punching down. I think WWL thought they were punching down when they allowed those statements to be made.
Yeah,
but don't ever
do that to them.
Don't ever. What we say, don't get it twisted.
Yeah, we can do that
over here. This is real ownership. This is a real station
we can
with
do
real
that
listeners. This is so don't think you're punching down. And so I think with the response from our owners with Troy and Jeff, I think that they've made it very clear. That, you said it, but now you're going to have to unsay it.
So what's crazy?
Yeah.
You have, in Troy Henry and Jeff Thomas, you have enough degrees and qualifications to fill up the whole Ivy League.
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking about double double master's engineering degrees and the business corporations. Their portfolio is $1 million.
Mr. Henry said, "We're not going to be emotional. We're gonna respond.
Yeah.
We're going to talk
he
to
said
the
the first thing I'm
appropriate
gonna do
people."
is we'll try man to man.
Yeah. I mean,
let's get this call. The line number, Brother Shedrick. Brother Shedrick, you're our last caller before we get into our next. No. Yeah, we'll come back after break. I could have. Brother Shedrick, you want to hold while we go to break and come back to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's put him on hold, and when we come back, Brother Shedrick, man. Oh, wow. Dr. Wyatt got me.
Yeah.
Dr. Wyatt, something else, man. Love you times 10. WBOK 1230 AM. Whose station?
Our station.
Yeah, you got the right one.
The little black job.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The Harris campaign says it has raised $40 million since Vice President Kamala Harris gave her acceptance speech at the Democratic National Convention. The total amount raised for the Harris-Walz campaign is now at $540 million since President Biden left the race. Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance says he believes Donald Trump would veto a federal abortion ban if elected president. In an interview with NBC's Meet the Press, Vance said Trump has been very clear that he wants to leave the abortion question up to the states. Dr. Anthony Fauci is expected to make a full recovery after being hospitalized for the West Nile virus. The former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases told CBS News he's out of the hospital and at home recuperating. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
New Schools for New Orleans wants to welcome all of our teachers, school leaders, students, and families back for the 24-25 school year. In addition, we want to send a big shout out to our education community for all of their hard work this past school year. Orleans Parish improved students' learning mastery plus by 2 percentage points since last school year. Also, New Orleans Public Schools grew 3 percentage points in the areas of English language arts and math in all grade levels. Let's continue to make more academic gains this school year.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And it's funny, one of the owners of WBOK, Jeff Thomas, he said, man, if nothing else, man, we try to promote equality and everybody ought to be on the same page. So even as upset and disrespected as he is, he talked about the history of this, of all media outlets, all people, man, coming together for this city and this region. And, Mr. Henry said, yeah, I'm going to holler at you. And then after I holler at you, then my people got to holler at you. We was able to translate that, Mr. Henry. Line number 1. Brother Shedrick, good morning. God bless you, man.
Good morning. Good morning to you and to Dr. Wyatt.
Good morning.
I tell you, again, this is a wake-up call to our community. It's a wake-up call to Black people. We constantly, we let it slide. We keep taking one on the chin, but you only got 2 chins. A left side, a right side, and then the bottom, your buttocks.
Yeah.
It's time for us to stop it. To this particular person, you had to hurry up and retire before you lost your pension? What right do you have to constantly be disrespectful or to allow disrespect towards people in the city of New Orleans? To be totally honest with you all, I stopped going to a ballroom on Old Gentilly down the street from the racetrack because they are disrespectful to black people. You know, my black dollar can spend everywhere. So you know what? Now I hang on Bayou Road, which is, I believe, the oldest little district of black-owned businesses.
Correct.
Yeah, so nevertheless, we got to stop taking it. And I understand being diplomatic, but sometimes, Dr. Wyatt, you got to call a thing and address it and deal with it. You don't care about me, well, guess what? I maybe need to not care about you and yours. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. Absolutely. No, well, the thing been called the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was clear.
Yeah.
Man, I know Dr. Bowie is coming on to talk about the charter experiment in his fight for community schools and quality education for
neighborhood schools, yes.
for our kids. But I'm interested to get his take.
And I think he's going to have an opinion. I think he's going to have an opinion because this wasn't just an attack on WBOK. This was an attack on Black New Orleans,
and
right?
Black excellence.
Black excellence, yes. And so the idea that you can just throw out these accusations and think that they're going to go unchecked is literally the foundation of white supremacy. They don't understand that words have consequences. You know, your actions have to have a reaction. And here we are, Monday morning, giving you the attention that you absolutely wanted, you know.
Man, it's just it's crazy, right? And I'm glad you reminded me because I don't say we don't go out of our way to lend other voices to the conversation. It's just natural part of our lineup.
Yeah.
If there's a topic
Objectivity.
out there, if there's a book, if there's someone, we don't check to see what race they are, what creed or color, what their political affiliation is.
No.
If there's an interesting topic or issue, we give them a
So I have a question, though, Oliver.
Yeah.
Do you think if Lee Zurich would have garnered this interview, would he have aligned himself with criminality and entitlement?
No.
Questions that need answering?
No. Those kind of accusations would not have been made against him.
Yeah.
If probably, especially because it's a hot topic, right? That's the tea, right?
Yeah.
That's the gossip in the city right now. Everybody would want a Cantrell or a Vappy interview.
Because he spent so much time talking about them. I know he wanted to talk to them.
There's no doubt about it.
Everybody wanted that interview.
So when WBOK and Reality Check and Gerard got that interview, man, but we've done it here before.
Right.
But, we've gotten people to come on this show who've been mischaracterized,
right,
or character assassination in the media or a hot topic.
Right.
They've come on WBOK because they said they felt safe.
Yeah. And I think they called it friendly because they felt like this was a place where he can talk without having to answer the serious questions.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's ongoing litigation. There's all but so
and Gerard
much
asked
he
him
could talk
serious
about.
Questions, and he said, "Well, I can't talk about that.
I can't talk about that." So what do you
And
want
he
him to say?
respected it, right.
Absolutely, the questions were laid out, but it's only so much he can share because it's ongoing litigation. But I mean, as a former sheriff, surely he knows the rules of engagement when it comes to that. So I'm just floored actually at the idea that an attorney, somebody that's supposed to be an arbitrator of fact finding, will go out of his way to malign a station, based on his own bigotry.
And this is the quotes from Black Social Media, I think 504, from Mr. Smith's comments on the show. He says, maybe it's just a slap on the wrist, but I think there's a bigger issue here. I've listened to WBOK long enough to know over the years that they don't have an issue with certain things that are downright criminal. And I mean criminal activity. It is part of the whole, we're due this. I mean, it's entitlement. This is our entitlement. And so nothing done was wrong. So we'll see how it plays out. Wow.
A direct quote from Justice Schmidt.
A direct quote. It's like,
yes,
criminal activity is an entitlement? Come on, man, give me. Man, much as our community is fought to be safe, right? Knowing that you got to be 3 times better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in this comment, I think Mr. Henry and Miss Thomas were right. They weren't talking about WBOK. We're talking about all of them.
Black folk. And again, the idea that WBOK is doing more with less is actually what bothers them.
That's another word.
You're doing more with less.
Right.
But isn't that the nature of Black America, right? You could give us nothing, and we're going to make a whole lot of something.
Now, let me tell you what I know.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people listening to this show right now who are avid listeners.
Yes.
Avid. And they've told me before, I'd like you to call in. Give us a call. 504-582-9422. I'd like to know your thoughts.
Right.
Because you support both. I know some have relationships with other sides. It's not the first time they've done that.
Right.
So 504-582-9422, for the folk who listen to WBOK and listen to WWL, how does this make you feel now?
Yeah. I mean, their inner thoughts are on full display. As we say, they said the quiet part out loud.
That's absolutely, they said it out loud.
The quiet part out loud, yes.
And they painted all of us with a broad brush in terms of our listening audience. Because if we support criminal activity and are giving a safe space for criminal activity, you would only do that if your audience allowed you to.
Right. Because somebody's listening.
Because
somebody,
or we wouldn't be here.
Right. Or we wouldn't be here. So again, this is not just an attack on WBOK. This is an attack on Black New Orleans, Black America, because we've listeners all over.
And guess what?
This country.
Guess what?
So
when I'm channel surfing, I listen to a lot of different news. I've heard those voices who call our show.
Right.
Call in that show.
Yeah.
I know who they are.
So call.
How do you feel?
Share your perspective.
504. You don't have to say that, but but 504-582-9422.
Yeah.
Do you have any empathy for us? Do you think that the character assassination was justified for us? Because I know you listen to both.
Yeah.
And by listening to both, that means you support both.
And we have to realize, gone are the days where most of them are hooding themselves in their obscure. Right now, they're in every facet of our life. They're in our fire departments. They're in our police departments. They're in our legislative bodies. They're everywhere with those type of ideologies, right? And so if we do not continue to call a thing, we're going to embolden them to believe that they can just say what they want and do what they want and get a pass.
Right.
And the owners of WBOK say, not today.
Not today.
No. Not today.
No.
I'm going to reach out. No. Not today.
Not today. Wow, we got, and I want to thank for those folk who called earlier, man. And for our community out there, right? You don't have to give your name. We don't have to know who you are. But this is just another assault on our community, and it was blatant, and they didn't hide it. And so upset and so disappointed, right? Because we have relationships with everybody.
Yeah,
there are people that we know, and it's unfortunate that these kinds of attacks and character assassination has to happen. Line number one. Hey, Papa Baptiste. Hey, Papa, man. You're on with Dr. Wyatt and OT.
Come on, say bye, as my papa would say to both of y'all, Madam and Shira.
You
guys, love the station. I love everybody that's what y'all be doing. I don't see how anybody could attack this station at all. After listening to, I channel surf too, and I actually heard somebody on that other supposedly popular station early morning. I tried to call in, and he actually said, "Oh, Project 2025. I like that. I don't see anything wrong with that." So I was gonna call the station and say, "Y'all support Project 2025? Y'all announcers, that's their own privilege. But I want to know if the station supports this, so I could stop listening forever. Because y'all let lies, propaganda, everything. If it's against African Americans, y'all are down with it."
Wow.
So if that's the station's, This is y'all field. This is what y'all stance.
Great point.
And you know, if everybody loved this 2025 and y'all promoting that over this other station, supposedly popular station with one of the former DJs and him, and he spoke up against it. He didn't like it. One of the guys I listened to off and on.
Right.
He you know, the afternoon guy, he comes on that too. He wasn't down with it. Yeah. But prior to that, and one of them is the former sheriff, everybody did down with Project 2025.
Thank
you.
So
that's telling you what that station stands for.
Thank you.
God bless WBOK. Everybody on Oliver. Look to see you soon.
Wow, man. Line number 2. Wow, man. Victor Sims, man. Thank you. Is there a psychological profile for this, Victor Sims?
Actually, there is. That's why I had to call in for this.
Right.
You know, when things result in this type of a response, it usually strikes a fear factor within the individual who lashes out.
Right.
Because their inability to understand what has transpired because it didn't go according to how they wanted it to go. Now you have to put a negative spin on it to preserve your own space in your own head. Basically a legend in your own mind. And when reality comes, G was able to get something done that they were not able to get done. That strikes a fear in the person's mind. So you have to lash out. As opposed to accepting the reality as what it was and making the best of it, no, the individual who can't get what they want has to lash out. So a basic fear, low self-esteem, whatever negative you want to put on a person who feels the need to become unnecessarily verbally aggressive, there's always a reason behind that. And that reason is usually not something that they're willing to speak out in public. I think I heard a couple of you mention that there were other comments made that were not put on the air, and that would also add to what is transpiring that was put on the air. So yeah, there is a deep psychological rationale. Last time I was on the show, we talked about philosophical beliefs, political philosophical beliefs. And this, what has transpired, is definitely demonstrating that there is a political philosophical belief that's sweeping through that feels as though anything that does not validate them has to be a negative.
Wow, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you, Victor Sims. Now, I'm still waiting on my little cousin to call, D.
Mm-hmm.
D, I'm still waiting on you, D.
Yeah, because, D,
he tell me all the time he listens to Bo.
What I heard.
And he comments, and I've heard his voice on Bo D. Give us a call, 504-582-9422, line number 1. Good morning, Miss Alicia. Bless you, leader. You're on with Dr. Wyden OT.
Good morning. I'm not going to be long because I want to hear my Senator, Dr. Joe Bowie.
Yeah.
Hey, little Doc.
Good morning.
Real quick, I want to tell you a story about Newell Norman. Newell Norman, remember when Wendell Allen was killed, the little young guy who was home for
yes,
yeah,
from college, and he was coming downstairs to find out what the commotion was going on, and he was shot coming downstairs.
Yep.
Well, Newell Norman was on the Good Morning Show prior to when WBOK was on Gentili, and he was blasting the callers that were calling in, because they didn't like the fact that this is a Jefferson Parish guy who came in and just shot because, he could care less because the family was black, the community was black, and blah, blah, blah. So Newell Norman was blasting every caller. Were you there? Were you there? Well, shut up then, because you don't have nothing to say because you weren't there. So I got so sick of him saying that. I called in. I said, Mr. Norman, let me ask you something. Were you there?
Come on.
Were you there?
Right.
So how can you be so cruel to the callers that say what they want to say, but then you weren't there either? So what you're saying may not be the truth because you were not there. And at the end of the day, that officer had to plead guilty because he knew what he did was wrong, and it was really, really getting to him. So I'll never forget that about Newell Norman. And he was some good and mad with me.
Wow, well, we appreciate you as always, and no more person with truth and accountability and speaking their mind. Thank you, Miss Alicia. We appreciate you, babe. Yeah, but you know what, Doc? I still have a level of disappointment and frustration, right? Because, you know, when you reminded me of how diverse we are,
yeah,
and how we go out of our way to give voices that folks would think shouldn't even be on the black radio
Right.
station, but we do it, and we've gotten criticized from some of our
absolutely
our base
avid listeners. Yes.
who say why
Why are they on?
why are they on, or why are
Yeah.
you talking to them? Because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be objective and let people make up their own mind. But this level of frustration, especially the fact that, especially because I've been mischaracterized on that station before.
Mhm.
I've been called a thug, criminal. So it's like I know they'll never forgive me for my past. I had one of their hosts
Mhm.
say I learned my behavior
Mhm.
in prison because I had an incident, you know, where I got frustrated,
Mhm.
you know, and the person went on their show to plead to them about how bad a person I was, and they did it. But for the station, not, right? You have a business there.
Mhm.
And that they're black people,
Mhm.
young people, old people, Republicans, Democrats who support that business and listen to that business. And when the station doesn't, you know, and the company doesn't make a stand-up position,
Yeah.
that's like you're endorsing that.
But I also appreciate the fact that you do not shy away from your past, right?
No,
You do
no,
not shy away
no.
from it, and I think that's the strength in it. Because if
Right.
that's the best bullet that they could put in the chamber,
Right.
you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You're gonna be okay, and I no pun intended. You're going
Right.
to be okay.
Right.
But to speak to Newell Norman, he's the same sheriff that when the murder of Joe McKnight happened, the guy that killed him was sent home very
Sent
same
home.
day.
Right.
Right. So we're not going to talk as if you've not made any missteps in your job as an arbitrator of justice and equity for all people. So the fact that he co-signed and egged on and did not correct the statements that were made, you can only assume that he supports it. You can only make the assumption that WWL supports it. So until there's a retraction, until there's an atonement, we have to go with the mindset that this is the sentiment that they believe in. And so there we are. And we also know that, you know, Black excellence is the antithesis to white supremacy. They don't want us to be excellent at what we do. They don't want us to rise. They don't want us to shine. And I think the attack was just to try to get us to stumble.
Well,
And that's all that was.
Well, I think you're right. We're going to talk to Black excellence after the break.
Yes, indeed. The one and only
Senator Joe Boyd.
Dr. Joseph Boyd.
I probably need to get a seat and listen to this discussion. I'm gonna let Dr. Wyatt lead this discussion. I just look stupid when you got an education expert, somebody who studied education from A to Z. I'm gonna listen and learn, and of course, Dr. Bowie from the highest level of president of the university to fighting public policy for all kids for public education. You don't get any better than that.
The best to ever do
We'll
it.
be back after the break. WBOK 1230 AM. Whose station?
Our
It's
station.
our station, y'all.
you at, everybody? Join us on the front porch. I'm your host, Graylin Bryant Banks.
And it's your girl, Kimber White Dupree. What's up, y'all?
Join us every Monday for Movie Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And you know it's them bad cheering every Wednesday.
And on Thursday, we like to travel.
And it's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Yes, if something's on your mind, let it off.
Join us every day right here on the front porch, WBOK, 1230 a.m., the station you listen to all day long.
Every day, the RTA gets thousands of New Orleanians where they need to be. Whether you're headed downtown, the Ninth Ward, or Algiers, our buses, ferries, and iconic streetcars are going your way. Rolling with the RTA is a smart way to help you save money and the environment. Download the La Pass app today to plan your ride, get real-time arrival information, or make mobile payments. Because the RTA is how New Orleans rolls.
A message from the community scientist. Do you live or work in St. James, St. John, St. Charles, Ascension, Calcasieu, Baton Rouge, or St. Bernard parishes? If so, it's important for you to understand objective information about 1,3-butadiene, volatile organic compounds, methane, and mercury, and how they impact your health and the natural environment. The Community Scientist is a service program of Rise St. James. Learn more at risestjames.org.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, an on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
Yo, black.
We are back. He's got a black job. He does. He's the African American Senator. One of the leaders in educational voices, especially fighting for quality public education for all children. And that is none other than Dr. Joe Bowie. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show.
Well, thank you, T. Good morning to you and to Dr. Wyatt.
Good morning, Doc.
Doc, I got to ask you this question and get out of the way and let two education experts really talk about it, especially Act 334, the charter experiment, I think what the governor just did in signing something for charters. But are you surprised at the level of character assassination that came from WWL and the show and the attorney who was on the show?
Not at all, too, simply because, first of all, I'm old enough and have been around long enough to know institutional racism. That is simply a magnification of institutional racism. We have an environment right now where it is okay to express these racist attitudes, these racist beliefs. And, of course, our former president made it okay to do it. And so folk are coming out the woodwork now. So I'm not surprised at all. Because it's about anything black people, black institutions, anything black. You are less than, inherently inferior to. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not surprised at all.
And how do you have the audacity to be excellent?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the audacious nature of us, right? That's a problem.
You inherently inferior. You can't be.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about your little black job
yes, indeed.
As the senator.
Pushing for quality public education for all children.
Well, you know, as I, Dr. Wyatt, many of my colleagues, you and the community has been concerned about what the Louisiana Charter Experiment has done to Orleans Parish by making us an all-charter experiment. We actually, over the last, since 10 years, since 14, been putting the word out, talking to the community. Well, they got smart enough to say, okay, what we're going to do is end the experiment. Now, they've denied that there was an experiment for all this time, but in order to repeal it, they had to admit it. And so that's basically what they did. Out of the last regular legislative session, there came Senate Bill 350, which is now Act 334, signed by the governor, which does four things. First and foremost, they say we're ending the experiment. Secondly, they actually take the authority from elected school boards, because in that bill they say that if a now private charter operator want to apply for an application to be a charter and the school board rejects it, then they can take that application to
And approve
BESID.
it.
To the BESID board.
They also now have superseded the authority of the elected board, because in the bill, again, it says that these charters shall have what they call operational autonomy. That means they
Do
in
what they
charge of
want.
everything without any accountability.
It's like presidential immunity.
Exactly.
Come
But
on.
the most egregious thing they did was that after this 19-year, what we would call in research a longitudinal study, they're not doing a final report to say, here's the results of what we found after 19
If
years.
you had an experiment, you usually want to know what the results
Yes.
of it are.
Gotta have
Well,
after
because they
19
know
years.
they know what the results are.
Right.
But
Yes,
if you don't put the final report out, the public doesn't know that it was a consistent failure. So they know that it was a failure. They don't want us to know
That's
that they failed.
And of course, we know that it was not only flawed, failed, discriminatory, and illegal. The evidence proved it with Louisiana legislative auditors in each of those areas. So that is the most egregious thing recently they have done to our community, to our children, and to public education. So I'm here to just let the public know what they've done, and so what we can understand we must do as we continue to try and protect our children and to really take back our schools.
And what was so insulting, Dr. Bowie, is that they put out almost like a flyer, like an announcement, and it says, "Experiment no more. We are here to stay."
Yes.
Right? After 19 years of saying there was no experiment,
That's right.
they didn't even want you to use the word experiment.
That's right.
And so it's the goal or the audacity to say experiment no more. We're here to stay, as if to say the failure is here to stay, because they've not shown us any growth or any sustained progress to say that this experiment ever worked. Not then, not now. Right? Because my argument was always, and your argument was always, if we take away the schools that have historically done well, whether they were public schools or whether they were considered charter schools, then let's just gauge your product, right? And as Oliver and I were talking in a previous, if a product is not working, if Walmart put a product out and it was consistently making folks sick and it was consistently failing folk, they will recall it.
That's correct.
Right?
That's right.
And we've never had an opportunity to recall the experiment because they never ever admitted to the experiment. But generations of children cannot read on grade level. That is the only evidence that you need to know that it has been a consistent and persistent failure.
And you are exactly correct. And what this bill, which is now law, does is that it both legitimizes and institutionalizes a failed approach. The only all charter system in the world. That's what we now have in Orleans Parish. And so our children who have been victims in our community, who has been victims for these 19 years, will continue to do that in perpetuity if we don't continue our struggle to take our schools back.
So, Dr. Boyd, can you tell our listeners what, if any, power does our elected school board body have now that this is now in Act 334 is in essence been signed by the governor, is in effect?
Yes.
What powers do we actually have now?
Basically, they have none, because while it was under experiment, it meant they still had them, but they temporarily had given them to the charter operators under the experiment. Now that they've legitimized it and said it has efficacy and it does not, all of those things that the school board were responsible for, all over the state, except Orleans Parish, those powers are taken away, except when those contracts of those charter operators come up for renewal with those DNF schools. Unfortunately, there's going to be an incremental opportunity of change, because just as we have done with the Leah Chase School, that opportunity will be there when these other DNF schools come up for renewal. And so while they don't have any authority or power to do anything while those charter operators have the schools, the only opportunity, only window we have to protect our children is when they come back.
But speak to the point of, let's just say that they come up and the school board denies them. They still have an opportunity to go before Bessie and get a different authorization. Can they do that?
That's what the law allows them to do.
So that's and that's the harm to me in having a state superintendent who is also pro-charter, Because if you fail at the local level getting this charter, if the local level says no, you can't operate, then you can go to your pro charter superintendent and the Bessie board and say, listen, this is what we want to do, and you can just get authorized there.
But he's pro charter for New Orleans.
He's
not for everywhere else.
Well, that was the intent. It was only supposed to be New Orleans. And if you look at the history of when they tried to implement this in different parishes, those school boards fought back and said we don't want that here.
And let me tell you how absurd it is, because it ties into the earlier conversation. And State Superintendent of Education, that is Cade Brumley,
yes,
correct? Mm-hmm. Guess where he used to have a segment on? WBOK. So we gave voice and gave a platform to one of the most diverse platforms.
Yes, no doubt.
In the industry.
No doubt. No doubt.
So what can our parents do?
Right.
You and I know what should be done and what we would like to do. But I have always told people the masses control the outcomes. If you in mass go up there and say this is not what we want, if teachers in mass say this is not what we're going to participate in, if bus drivers in mass say we're not driving on hot buses, you can pull the system to an entire halt, and they would have to acquiesce to your demands. But I believe we are so beaten down by a system that continues to give us false information and mislead us that we don't know who to believe. We don't know if Dr. Bowie is saying the truthful thing, if the president of our school board is saying the truthful thing, if our state school board leader is saying, who's telling the truth here? Because we have so many opinions, and then we have this big money machine of propaganda behind it. What do we believe? How do lay people fight back?
It is the tactic and strategy that has always served oppressed communities in general, but the African American community in particular. And that is those institutions that are ours must now step up and motivate and educate our people to do something about what we now know is detrimental to our children and our community. For instance, we have been over the years working with black churches, parent groups, local community organizations. With this piece, we now must do basically what you said, Dr. White, that is demand that we stop this failed, flawed, discriminatory approach, because we know what it has done.
Right.
There's nothing here, and all of the research shows how harmful this has been to our children and our community. And so what we're talking about now is really some community action.
Yes.
To stop it by saying, we're not going to do this. And that may take the form of, we decide to keep our kids home when it's time to open those schools because that money won't come.
Right.
And that's all they're caring about.
Yes.
The control of that public dollar.
October 1st, February 1st.
That's right.
That is the allocation of MFP funding. And, you're always looked at, Dr. Boo, as being radical, but I think when you have a radical problem, you need radical solutions.
Sure.
And for me, there's nothing more radical than standing up for the most marginalized children and saying, my kid cannot read and I need to do something about it. And I don't even understand on any level how anybody could justify the percentage of children in this city not reading on grade level.
That's right.
It is downright criminal if you ask me. And so for me, I'm going to say it again. If teachers decide I do not want to participate in this, if parents decide I do not want to participate in this, if bus drivers decide, because our children are riding around in 100-degree heat with no AC on the bus. So just think about the ride to school in extreme heat, and you get to school, you might have missed breakfast, you're not eating, so you're hot and you're hungry. That doesn't make for a good recipe in terms of academia. But nobody's saying anything about these broken systems.
And look, do you know that, and here's the other part of this piece. That's why it must be community action, because the legislature I serve in, they are controlled by these folk.
Yes.
For instance, the charter advocates, Louisiana Association of Charter Schools, New Schools for New Orleans, those are the same people who was in charge of the Recovery School District. There's a little local group, and of course, because this is a talk show and we speak truth to power.
Yes.
They use African Americans to be in positions to profess how great something is that's harming our people.
Talk to him, Dr.
They
Boyd.
even bought a segment on the station to promote
Heavy
this show.
segment to
Yeah.
indoctrinate.
Yeah.
But unlike the other segments where folk can call in,
Yes.
they don't do
Can't
that
call
there.
in.
They
Right.
just
Right.
put information out.
Yeah. Right.
But to speak to the point you did, I offered a bill with Senator Cleo Fields to require every school bus to be air conditioned.
Yes.
It got past the Senate because that's where we are. When I got over to the House, they killed it. It's amazing how this whole embracement of this targeting public education, regardless of what happens, they will kill the bills. I did a bill to say we have to have monitors on the buses because, we've had over 3,000 violent incidents in the state on school buses. Everybody
In the
agrees with
state.
it, but they killed the bill. And so I'm saying, listen, we're the ones who have to take care of our children and our community. So this is really what kind of time this is, that we have to go to community action systems to make this happen.
So for people who are listening out there, and you've consistently called this an experiment, right? So finally, the state said, yeah, it was a failed experiment, but they endorsed the failed experiment.
It was the law. It was the law that charter
Right.
approach in Louisiana should be experimental because our predecessors said it's all right to do this thing, but we're not going to let you do it all over the place. If a district wants to do it, take one school.
So graduation
They didn't do that
rates,
to us, though.
Test scores, ACTs, comprehension, reading, writing, and arithmetic. None of those things were considered, especially when you talk about the 18-year plight, right, of public education in terms of the product they were supposed to deliver. None of that came into consideration.
Well, no, here's the thing. The purpose of the charter approach, the way we use it in Louisiana, it was to be an approach to reform failing schools. Right? And remember we said we did a grade point, and then you would take that school if it wasn't there, and then the state would, quote, do something. Well, what the state did was to use the charter approach. And in the charter approach, in the law, it said, here's what you can do experimentally, and here are the areas we'd like you to study. Administration, teaching and learning, whatever it might be, board governance. It's clearly said in the law. They never did that.
I'm asking that question because now what we see, we've had a couple of articles here done, Dr. Wyatt, on qualified administrators and teachers. There's a shortage here. So my mind is working is like, so if they're looking at what the state is doing, right, and what the charter movement is doing, why would somebody who has the passion for education, why would you want to be part of that system, especially if it's a failed experiment? So could our shortage of qualified people be with people looking at the history of it and saying, you know what, I don't want to be part of that?
Well, two things.
Especially if they have opportunities to go work someplace else.
Yeah, two things. First thing, the shortage of teachers was really spawned by the charter movement.
Yes.
Because the charters don't use certified teachers.
Yes.
Teach for America. You graduate with a bachelor's degree, they give you a quick and dirty 90 days and then put you in the classroom. Fired 7,000 certified teachers in Orleans Parish, which happened to be mostly African American, which happened to be the black middle class in New Orleans. Fired 7,000. So now what did that do? What was the impact of that on teacher education programs? At Xavier, at SUNO, in all of those schools that had, when that student came, I don't have to major in education. Why? Because I can get a degree and go teach with anything. And so they...
Ripple effect.
Yes, and to that point, there was an organization run by a white gentleman here. His degree was in aquatics, and he was running an entire school. Like, I'm not joking.
He was swimming in the alphabet.
He had the degree in aquatics. There was a young white girl.
Wait, come on, Dad.
I'm serious. I'm telling you, there was a young white girl. She was writing the curriculum, the ELA curriculum, and her previous job was selling panties at Victoria's Secret. This is what we're dealing with here, but nobody talks about it because the propaganda makes it sound so good. And the exodus of qualified teachers was so that they can usher in TFA, so TFA could have a reason to exist. Yes. Like I told you, they create the problem and sell you the cure. That's literally what is happening here, and that's why our children can't read. And then to put it in our face saying, experiment no more, we are here to stay, that was insulting.
Sure.
Because what are you saying is here to stay? Perpetual failure? Because you've not given us anything. Perpetual failure. Sure. But that's because you want to prime our children to bust your tables and wash your cars. That's what you want to prime our children for, a service industry, for
Doc,
servitude.
So, Doc, how do you lock into something that doesn't work and say, you know what, it was so bad that we're going to keep it? And so there has to be some court. There's the court systems, right? There's state court. There's the appellate court. There's the Supreme Court. There's the state Supreme Court. There's a Supreme Court over the state Supreme Court. Surely there's some recourse.
If we go to the court side, in instances where this tragedy was challenged in the judicial system, the Louisiana court supported the charters. For instance, when the teachers filed a suit,
Willie Sanders,
all the way to the Supreme Court, say, yeah, you're right, they did y'all wrong, but the state has immunity.
Yeah. They kicking the can. That's basically what they're doing.
When it was challenged that, and in the rhetoric about what you're going to do with schools that you take from districts after you no longer are working with them, and they come back, once there was time to come back, and RSD, Recovery School District, wanted to keep those schools, when folk like myself and others said, no, give us our schools back, they filed a suit, and the court said, no, the private charter operators, they can choose whether they want to stay with the Recovery School District and not go back.
So, Doc, right, and I know you're a skilled negotiator. You've been an educator and an administrator at the highest level. So what is it like when you sit down with someone who voted for it, but they got to agree with you on the data? I can just see, I know that's played out,
That's
right?
happening, yes.
Oh, yeah,
Where you've sat down with someone and said, hey, look, this is the reality. And they respect you as an educator and as a teacher and an administrator.
He's not funding their re-elections, though.
Dr. White, and it said, Senator, Dr. Bowie, you right on all points.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm going to support the failure.
Yeah, two things. One is that you're right. They're dancing to the music of those who brought them to the table.
Right.
But I even had conversations to educate my colleagues, including the chairman of education who authored that bill, Rick Edmond from Baton Rouge, preacher. We talked about it man to man, and then we talked about it based on the facts. And then he said, well, you're right. And every time I go before the committee of senators with these bills, you're right. But when it's time to vote,
and let's be clear, Baton Rouge is another predominantly black school district. And you know that your school district is struggling. You know the kids are not reading on grade level, but you can go and vote for something that is going to further demise your community. Because here, and we have to be honest, and we have to call a thing, there is a black elected official that is supporting this here in New Orleans, right? So we're not going to act like people who look like us are not helping to destroy public education for our children.
Officials who helped create it.
Absolutely. But there are some black officials who helped create it who have gone on record to say we got it wrong.
We got it wrong.
We got it
Some
wrong.
people have changed
And
their
I can
position.
respect that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the idea to just simply say you got it wrong and to do nothing to help atone for it, because everybody should be standing shoulder to shoulder with Dr. Bowie. Because I can remember going to the state capitol one time, Doc, and you can remember, one of the white representatives said, well, if it's so bad, why don't you have the people from New Orleans here, the elected officials from New Orleans here supporting you? And they had a point. Where is our school board to say that?
Well, it's been years in conversations with Dr. Bowie since I've been doing this, and the facts don't lie. And like you and I talked about, a product, if a company had a product that it couldn't take to market, wasn't even fit to go to market, then they would not only recall the products that they had out there, they would stop producing that
They
product.
would, yeah, absolutely.
And you've laid that case for quite some time. You would say, well, okay, kids, they're dropping out of high school. We're still not anywhere near the national average for graduation rates. And then Dr. Bush said, well, hold on a second. They ain't just leaving high school. They stopping at middle school in sixth grade now, too.
Yeah.
When you talk about the product they produce, I'll never forget the conversation you and I had. Well, hold on, from 16 to 24-year-olds, they're so well prepared post-Katrina that they're absent from the job market.
Out of school and out of work. 26,000. 26,000.
Yeah.
So much so.
And they called them, I think Mitchell Andrew called them opportunity youth. Without an opportunity.
We got 4 programs we're trying to deal with them youth.
And to Karen's point, the WBOK listeners don't play. So this is a call for Representative Jason Hughes to explain to us why does he support this measurement.
We'll see if we can get him on the show, and we'll reach out. Absolutely. Wow. Ooh, my goodness. 504-582-9422. One of the leaders in public education, right? For all people. All kids deserve a quality school, community school, and a neighborhood school in their neighborhood. And he ain't never going to change that position. That's Senator,
and quality personnel interfacing with them.
Senator Joe Bowie and Dr. Shante Wyatt. Whose station?
Our station.
It's our station.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Couple coastal showers starting off early, but then for the afternoon, expect some scattered showers for everybody else and a few thunderstorms possible. Not everybody will see this, though. Temperatures will still be into the low to mid 90s, feeling like the upper 90s to low 100s. And then for the rest of the week, more 90s with those daily chances for afternoon thunderstorms. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
Every day, the RTA gets thousands of New Orleanians where they need to be. Whether you're headed downtown, the Ninth Ward, or Algiers, our buses, ferries, and iconic streetcars are going your way. Rolling with the RTA is a smart way to help you save money and the environment. Download the La Pass app today to plan your ride, get real-time arrival information, or make mobile payments. Because the RTA is how New Orleans rolls.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we're back with one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite, Senator Dr. Joseph Bowie, here to talk about Act 334 of the Charter Experiment and the repeal of the Charter Experiment. So welcome back, Doc. Let's talk to the people.
Thank you so much, Doc. And look, truth be told, my admiration for you as an extremely qualified but neglected educational leader is the real tragedy here as well, because these groups have also created an environment where we have allowed them to have others define our people in terms of who can help and who cannot. And so that's a trap, but I need to say that publicly as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and your consistent support of me. So thank you so much for that. But I want the people to hear your perspective, because I don't think that there's a better, more well-positioned legislator than you are in terms of what is happening to our children academically and educationally. And I just want people to understand from your perspective what we're dealing with and how we get out of this. But we're going to take a call on line 1. We have James.
Hi, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Thank y'all for taking my call. I just have a question, and I'm going to hang up and listen. I just wanted to know if all this experimentation talk is happening because they are trying to funnel everybody's kids to the Catholic or private educational system. What are your thoughts on that? I'm going to hang up and listen.
Thank you for your question. I'm going to let Senator Dr. Jules Abui take the lead on this one. What you say, Doc?
Well, your question is a good one, and thank you for that. But here's what's really happening here. The charter approach was really the first attempt, both nationally, and it manifested in our community like nowhere else in the world, an all charter. That was the first thing to actually privatize public education. Now we have something called educational savings accounts, which it gets to the second part of your question in terms of the state now want to allow public dollars to be used to send folk to private schools. And of course, you know what that will mean. That means that you not only will siphon off money, public monies, but you're now going to siphon off children, which means you are actually now going to destroy public education, because you better believe that these grants that they're talking about giving, those private schools will raise their tuition, and many folk will not have enough money to put with the grant to get their kids to private school in the first place. So you're exactly right. It's not only now the privatization of public education, but it's now the elimination of public education systems.
So, and just to be clear, I do know that Representative Jason Hughes supported those ESAs. So I want to be very clear. That is what I know that he supported, but all of that manifests itself into the decimation of public education. We have to protect public education by any and all means. And I'll say this again. If teachers and parents and support staff all decide that this is not a system that we want to participate in, the system will have to hold itself and acquiesce to the will of the people. So if you don't like the fact that your child is riding on a hot bus, you actually have a voice to do something about that. If you don't like the fact that the majority of the staff in your child's school are unqualified or not certified in any content area, you have the power to do something about that. So, Doc, we're going to take another call on line 2. We have Monica.
Yes, good morning. Well, I have a very few that I would like to talk about. First about the reading proficiency of our children. Where you have third graders who cannot don't know sight words, don't know how to read. I mean, and they are constantly being moved up to higher grades, which I think is just crazy, because we're hurting our children. And it's so sad that, you know, the parents, and I know it all starts at home, and the parents should work with these children to learn how to read and not just put it all on the teachers. But this is what's going on in schools right now. Then you have math, where you have Eureka Math. My grandson is in first grade, but in pre-K, he had Eureka Math. And I'm like, okay, what is this? You know, and I called the school, and they said, well, go online, and basically they'll teach you how to do the Eureka Math. I'm like, okay, this is unheard of. I did ask one principal, why don't you bring the parents in so we could understand Eureka Math? So I just basically had to go online and learn how to do it myself. Also, about the hot school bus. I have 2 nieces that go to a school. The school bus is so hot, it feels like an oven. They own the school bus from 3:30 to 5:30 because it's a new bus driver, and I've reported this to the school. When the kids get off there, I mean, their bodies, everything is just hot. All their clothes, they're hot. So some of the kids are so hot that they're actually sleeping on the bus until they get to their stop. Also, uniforms. I understand charter schools do not wear uniforms, but now, you know, some of the kids are saying, you know what, I need to go to a school that wear uniforms, because the parents can't keep affording, you know, clothes or decent clothes or name brand clothes, and which is now causing bullying because they're not in name brand clothes or name brand tennis shoes or whatever. So now they want to change schools because the school they attend don't wear uniforms. Also, I've been talking to people about trade schools. We need to get our children educated through different trades that's going on. We need more electricians. We need automotive people. We need plumbers. We need back in the days when Booker T and probably another school, they had trades. So all the kids who don't want to go to college, we need to offer something for these children instead of them just walking the street, going to crime. We need to do something.
Absolutely, Monica. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much for your call. We appreciate you. What you say to that, Doc?
She's exactly right. And everything you identified is a manifestation of this failed and flawed experiment. For instance, when you talked about the issue of math and reading, there's no real teaching going on in the classrooms. And so that is number one. Number two, when you talk about support, the fact that we have no more neighborhood schools, we've lost the support system for our children in our schools. And that third thing, when you talk about the buses, the fact that we give control of the public dollars to these private organizations, they could care less about what's happening to the children. They want that dollar. And so we have really failed our children as a community, and we've allowed the state to create an environment that is totally harmful to our children and community.
So we have Piper on line one.
Hi, good morning, guys, and I'll make this quick. But I guess my biggest concern is what is the toughest hurdle or obstacle, the state legislature or the community? Because I think a lot of the parents, like the listeners, be okay engaged, but a lot of the parents with kids in schools, they're not engaged. I argue with my own child and with what he's doing with his kids, because they can be at a Nord playground till 8 o'clock at night for 7-year-old kids, but can't go to a PT. So those are things I'm thinking. At some point, we have to address the community to get the community and not just engaged, but enraged about what's going on with their kids. Because other than that, everybody seems to be content with existing.
I like that. Not just engaged, but enraged. Mm-hmm. We ought to be enraged about, thank you, Piper, about what is happening to our children. Doc, do you have any parting information for our listeners? Like, what are the takeaways with this entire act with 334, and what can parents do to help stand up for their children for public education?
Yes. Here's the thing. We will be hosting in October a community forum, public hearing, to talk about the state of public education, since the state now has repealed this experiment and legitimized it as something that is working for us. But here's the thing. Right now, we have one direct run school. The school board said we're no longer going to charter. We're going to run our own school the same way every other of these other 69 school districts are doing. First thing is we got to support that Leah Chase School. And I'm asking everyone to stay tuned. And once we talk about this October public hearing, we're going to talk about strategies and tactics to really protect our children and community.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Bowie. There is no voice, no more important voice than yours on the matter of education and how to get our schools back. We want to also thank the owners of WBOK for calling in and addressing the matter with WWL. We want to thank Dr. Bowie for coming and sharing his wealth of knowledge on the issue of educational reform. But as Oliver O.T. would say, it's not the side porch, not the back porch, but the front porch is up next with Kimber and Graylin. Thank you so much for listening in. This has been an extraordinary show. Thank you for tuning in to WBOK, the station you listen to all day long.